In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a below the shoulder solid form haircut. A technique like this can take the hair from looking damaged and frizzy to looking healthy and full. A solid form haircut is when all sections are cut to a balanced line with zero elevation. I'm going to start by spraying down the hair until it's consistently damp. Alternatively, this can be done at the basin with shampoo and conditioner. Using the wide teeth of my cutting comb, I'm going to find the natural parting line through the center of the head, which separates one side of the head from the other. To find the highest point of the head, lay your comb on the head, and wherever the balance point is, that's the highest point of the head. I'm now going to separate the back of the head from the front of the head by creating a section that runs from the highest point of the head to just behind the ear where the hairline changes. Secure each section with a clip. Repeat this process on the other side. Now I'm going to separate the left and right of the back of the head by creating a section from the highest point of the head to the center of the nape. Secure each section with a clip. The zones are now prepared and we are ready to start cutting. I'm going to be working with sections starting at the nape. Each subsequent section will run parallel to the previous until I reach the highest point of the head. I'm going to be using sections no wider than the width of my comb, which allows maximum visibility and accuracy. I'm going to start by working on the zones at the back of the head, as this is where the most hair is. Each section is a horizontal line, parallel to the floor and no wider than the width of my comb. As you can see, I'm securing the hair away with a clip and keeping the roots groomed and low on the scalp. This will reduce any unwanted root movement. Before we start cutting, let's look at how to hold your scissors. It's important to find a comfortable posture that keeps the shoulders down and the body balanced. Choosing the correct posture will not only help with accurate results, but give you longevity in your career. I'm going to use my section lines to help me dictate my cutting line. I generally like these lines to mimic each other for added accuracy. Moving on to the cutting technique now, this particular haircut is cut with zero elevation. A great way to do this is with the wide teeth of the comb. It will allow the hair to fall as natural as possible, reducing the risk of elevation and graduation. First, I place the comb in at the roots, then I use the closed scissor to help guide the hair until I'm happy with my choice of length. Then I cut a straight line. The great thing about cutting the hair in the comb is that it acts as a guide for your line. I'm choosing to keep the head in an upright and natural position. This is generally where a client would have their head position most of the time, so it makes sense for me to keep the head in its natural position. Always check for balance before moving on. Moving on to the next section now, remember I'm choosing to use sections no wider than the width of my comb and run parallel with the floor. I'm choosing to take sections parallel to the floor because I want to cut a straight line. The floor acts as a great reference point to remind me of my section lines and my cutting lines. Secure the hair away with clips. Now that I'm onto the second row of sections, you can see that I have a guideline from my previously cut section. This is the line I'm going to cut for the whole haircut. Once again, I use my comb to groom the hair from the roots until I found my guideline and cut a straight line. Generally, I work most of my sections in bite-sized panels, one in the center, then one to the side, then to the other. This is for balance and accuracy. I'm going to repeat this process until I reach the highest point of the head. Sometimes I will sit down to cut the hair. I will do this if I need more visibility when cutting a line. It also allows me to keep my posture balanced, providing longevity in my career. Once the back is complete, I'm going to move on to the sides. It doesn't matter which side you choose to cut first. The most important thing is that we stay consistent with our cutting principles. Much like the panels at the back of the head, I'm going to be taking sections no wider than the width of my comb that run parallel with the floor. I'm going to be using the previously cut hair from the zones at the back of the head as a guide for the zones on the side. As you can see, I'm cutting in the same fashion as I did at the back. I'm using the comb to groom the hair from the roots until I find my guideline, and then I cut a straight line using the tips of my scissors. I will continue this cutting technique until I reach the center parting line. Repeat the process on the other side. You'll notice that I rotate the hair back slightly when cutting the sides. As I mentioned at the start, a true solid form haircut is cut to a balanced line. The surface of the head is round. Therefore, if I follow it around the head, I risk the line rising up at the front and becoming unbalanced. A great reference point is to rotate the hair back towards the opposite shoulder. Now that the initial wet cutting is complete, I'm going to move on to the styling. I'm choosing to use my Dyson Supersonic with the gentle air attachment to rough dry the hair. I'm choosing a medium speed and medium heat to start to reduce the dampness in the hair. Notice I am directing the air towards the roots in the position that they are going to be styled. I'm not focusing on the ends at this point, as they are going to be brush dried for a professional finish. When the hair gets to approximately 50% dry, I'm going to switch to my concentrator nozzle and introduce a paddle brush. I'm using the paddle brush to encourage the roots to sit nice and flat in their natural position. Notice I'm still not focusing on the mid-lengths and ends. The roots are the most important part at this point in the styling process. Repeat this technique throughout all panels of the head. If you're struggling to target the roots, I'm going to show you a technique which will help you to control the hair. I'm going to use the paddle brush to separate the hair into a more manageable section. Next, I'm going to use the little finger of the hand that I'm holding the hairdryer with to hold the section of hair. You can see how this allows me to direct the air in an accurate and controlled way towards the roots. Repeat until all roots around the head are dried. Once the roots have been dried and controlled, I'm going to switch from the paddle brush to a round brush. This will help me to smooth the ends of the hair, giving it a professional finish. I split the head into 4 zones, much like we did at the beginning of this haircut. I'm going to take sections no wider than the width of my brush and blow dry the mid-lengths and ends of each section to a smooth, shiny finish. I've decided to put the hairdryer on full speed for this part, but still using a medium heat. This will allow me to efficiently dry the hair while keeping it in optimal condition. Much like when I cut the hair, I'm blow drying it in more manageable panels, one in the center and one on either side. Notice that I'm not allowing the nozzle to touch the surface of the hair. I'm relying on the airflow and the brush to do the work for me. This will also enable optimal hair condition. Repeat this process until the back panels are complete. Moving on to the sides now, I'm going to repeat the same drying process as I used on the back. I'm taking horizontal sections, no wider than the width of my brush, and focusing on smoothing out the mid-lengths and ends. You can see from this angle that I'm directing the hair down towards the ground. This is because I don't want any volume in the hair. The higher you elevate the hair, the more volume you will get when you are blow drying. Once the blow dry is complete, I'm going to move on to the refinery stage. I believe that all great haircuts require refinement, so it's important not to skip this bit. Assessing the hair in its natural fall, I'm looking out for any missed hairs or any imbalances in the line. I'm combing the hair with the wide teeth of the comb to move the hairs slightly so I can get the best overall reading. The aim here isn't to change the line, but to refine and balance the line to be as precise and balanced as possible. And there we have it, a solid form haircut utilizing a line and zero elevation.